Hello friends! Today we are gonna complete the full stack food ordering application using Next.js and Prisma. This is the homepage. We will fetch all these items from a database. Let's choose a product. I can select any option and quantity. Let's add it to the cart. As you can see, there is a notification here and our state management tool increases this number immediately. Let's add some other products and open up the cart page. On this page, I can remove any item, and when I click on this button, the login page shows up. Let's sign in with Google, and right now I can log out or complete the payment process. Let's write the cart information and the address. And after the successful payment, we will see this page. It's gonna update our order and redirect us to the orders page. All the order history of the user is here. And if you are an admin, you'll be able to see all the orders and change their status. And in the Stripe dashboard, you can see the payment details. In the navbar, we have a button that is only visible to admins. Let's create a new product. And here we can delete the item. In this project, we will be using Postgres, but you can choose any database provider you want, because thanks to Prisma, we will use the same structure regardless of any database to make CRUD operations. Also, we are gonna use the Prisma adapter in Next Auth, and you will see how easy to handle authentication and authorization in both client and server-side components. And you will learn many other technologies like Docker, Zustand state management tool, Stripe payment gateway, and more. If you didn't watch the design part of this project, I recommend you watch it first. At least just check the folder structure and the pages I've created, because in this tutorial I will directly start creating the backend API. Okay, if you want to see more projects like this one, please like the video, and we are ready to start. Before starting, let me introduce you one of my favorite Chrome extensions, Tango. It's the sponsor of the video, but I also use it in my daily workflow. It's a free extension that allows you to create step-by-step documentation easily. Start capturing and click through your steps. And Tango will create screenshots and write description for each step. It saves a lot of time when creating guides or explaining to people how to use your application. You can easily edit your steps and share them as HTML or PDF. Visit tango.us or search for it in the Chrome Web Store. Okay, let's open up VS Code and create here a new folder. And inside this folder, I will clone my next application from the previous tutorial. Let's open up GitHub repository and clone this UI design. To do that, you can directly download this project, or if you are using Git, just copy this URL, come back to the terminal and git clone, paste your URL, enter. Okay, let's install our libraries, npm install or yarn. Okay, they are here, and we are ready to start our application. I will say yarn dev. Okay, it's here. Let's open up. Okay, our design is ready. All these pages and components, and they are ready to communicate with a backend server. But before starting, let me explain you the structure of the application. Let's say this is our Next.js app router. And in the previous tutorial, we have created our pages. Let's say pages. And in this tutorial, we will create our API router and communicate with pages. we will be able to send requests and get responses. And we will fetch products, orders, or whatever, or create a new product. And of course, to do that, we are gonna need a database. In this project, we will be using Postgres database. But if you want to use another database, don't worry, you can still use them because we will be using Prisma. It's an open source ORM and it allows us to make CRUD operations easily with any given database. In the API, we will make a request, let's say products find by ID, and Prisma is gonna create the actual database code. In this case, it's gonna be an SQL code, and it will search for this item and send that item to our API. So it really doesn't matter which database you are using, we are gonna use exactly the same queries thanks to Prisma. So let's see which tables we are gonna use. I'm gonna add here relationship. Let's remove them and open up our application. Firstly, we are gonna need a user. When we log in, we are gonna save that user to our DB. And this user is gonna have a name, email, image, and is admin. By default, it's gonna be false. We are gonna have only one admin. And after that, we will have some categories, and they are gonna have this title, description, color, this image. And when I click here, as you can see, there is a slug. We are gonna use it also, like that. And after creating category, we are ready to create our products. Let's open up. It's gonna have this image, title, description, price, and also we have some options here. And to create those options, we are gonna need an object array. Let's see our structure. As you can see, there's an object array here, and there's an isFeatured field here, because remember, in the home page, we have these featured products, and each product has one category, but a single category can have multiple products. To connect these two tables, I'm gonna be using category slug. Of course, you can store here the category ID, but in our application, it's much easier to take this. Where is our slug? As you can see, it's here. We can directly fetch our data using this slug. So I will keep it like that. As soon as it's unique, it doesn't matter which foreign key you are using. And finally, a user can create an order. Let's see. We have its ID, price, products, and status. Let's create here. And to connect these two tables, I'm gonna use this email address, because in our application, we are gonna be using Stripe as a payment gateway, and it's gonna store the user email, and it will be easier to fetch that user's orders quickly. Here is the payment gateway. Here is the CRUD operations. And we are gonna send this information to our pages. Speaking of pages, as you know, we have two kinds of components. The first one is server-side components, let's say server-side rendering. And the second one is client-side rendering. And when we fetch any data, for the server-side components, we are going to be using Next.js async components. And for the client-side components, when we need any user interaction, we are going to be using React Query, let's say React query, or the regular JavaScript fetch method. So you are gonna learn both server-side fetching and client-side fetching, and you'll understand when you should use server-side or client-side components. And that's all for now. So let's create our API route and see how to send data. But before starting, I want to remind you that if you are a beginner and don't know the Next.js basics, you should probably watch my Next.js tutorial first. After watching that video, everything will be much easier for you. Okay, let's close this terminal and open up our app folder. Right now, I'm gonna create another folder here, and it's gonna be API, and I'm gonna create my first endpoint, and it's gonna be categories. And we should create here a route file. Remember, when we create any page, we are naming it page.jsx or tsx. And when we create any API route, its name should be route.ts or js. This is how Next.js knows this is not a page, this is an API route. Okay, let's create our first method and see how it works. I will say export const, and I'm gonna create a get function. And let's send our response here. To do that, we are gonna be using next response. I can write here any message, and I can send any status. Let's say 200, which means successful. Let's use this endpoint and see our response here. I will say API categories, and as you can see, it's here. And this is how we are using our route methods. It's a get method, but also you can create a post method or a put method or delete method. But to do that, firstly, we are gonna need a database. We are gonna store our items, and after we will be able to fetch or create a new one. I'm gonna open up my terminal and let's install Prisma. I will say yarn add Prisma, and also to make CRUD operations, we are gonna need Prisma client. Let's install them. And during this process, let's open up the Prisma documentation. And here, as you can see, we have already installed our library. And after that, we are going to initialize Prisma using any database. So let's copy here and change here. And as you can see, there's a new file here. If I open up, we are going to see that our database provider is Postgres, and we are going to add here our database URL. The easiest way to create a Postgres database is using Docker. Of course, you can install Postgres directly on your computer, but when you try to deploy your application, you have to install it from scratch, or when you share your code with someone else, they will have to install it on their computers also. If you don't know what the Docker is or how to use it, don't worry, it's really easy. Basically, it provides us reusable environments. For example, we will just create a Postgres instance and we will be able to run that in any other computers or servers easily using Docker. To do that, let's install Docker first. Just choose your operating system and download. And after that, you are going to see this interface. And right now you should go ahead and create a Docker account. I'm going to open up hub.docker.com. You can create your own account here. And after that, you can search for Postgres. And as you can see, this is the official image of Postgres. Let's open up this one. You can directly install this image to your computer and run it using this command. Let me zoom in, by the way. Okay. But the best way is to create a dedicated file just for this instance. As you can see, we are going to create this file, and inside this file we will write our configurations, the image name, and inside we can write our database password, username, and database name. You can find all of these here, as you can see. I said this is the best way to create because when you use your applications in a server or in other computer, you are just going to run this file and it's going to install everything you need. So let's create this file and copy this configuration. And after I'm going to explain you. I'm going to open up my menu and inside source folder, let's say Docker, and inside Docker Compose. And I'm going to paste my configuration. This is the image name. Basically, we are going to install Postgres in this container. And after that, we can give our database name. Let's create two more. First one will be database user. Let's say my user, my password, and my DB. Like that. Of course, you should use them in an environment file, .env file, but I'm just going to show you how you can use it. And what else we can do? We can give any port number, and it's going to run on this port number on my computer, and this is the actual port number where Postgres working on. Let's give a tab here, and we don't need adminer. I can delete this. Basically, it's like PHP my admin, so we can actually see the tables, but I'm removing this because we will be using Prisma Studio and we will be able to see our database and all its tables. Okay, right now we are ready to run our database. To do that, I'm going to open up my source folder and Docker folder, and if I say Docker Compose, up, oops, I didn't save here. Let's try again. And as you can see, it's installing our database with all its configuration. And after that, we are going to reach it using this port number. Let's come back here. As you can see, our URL is in this env file. Let's open up .env. It's here. Right now, I'm going to change this username. Remember, my user, my password, and my DB. That's all. I'm gonna save and we are ready to go. Right now I can create my tables. I'm not creating users right now because we are gonna handle this when we create authentication API route. I'm gonna start with categories. I will say model category, and we are gonna have an ID. It's gonna be string, and we are gonna say it's an ID. And by default, it's going to generate an ID like that. And we are going to have created at date. It's going to be a date time. And by default, the time will be now. It's going to be the current time. Let me shrink here, by the way. And what else? We are going to have a title. It's going to be a string. I'm going to duplicate here. We are going to have a description. I will say color, image, and Slack. I can delete others. And remember, in the product, we are going to use this Slack string, so it has to be unique. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And let's create products. I will say product. Again, ID created at title, description, and image. We are going to have a product price, and I will say it's a decimal because the price can be like $29.99. So I'm not writing here integer, it should be decimal, and I will say is featured, and it will be Boolean, and by default it's going to be false. When we create any product, we don't have to give this field. By default, it's going to be false. And remember, options, it's going to be object array. This is how we are defining in Prisma. And right now I can give the relationship between my tables. We are going to be using this Slack. Firstly, I will say category. Its type will be category. Directly, I'm taking this type. and I'm gonna write my relationship. Firstly, I should give here a field name in the product model, and it's gonna represent this slug name in the category. So let's create here first category slug, for example, whatever you say, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be string, and right now I can use it here. The field name will be category slug, and the references will be the slug. This field is in our model, and this field is in the category model. But as you can see, there is a warning here that because in the category model we don't have any product, let's create, I will say products, that because a category can have multiple products. In this case, it's going to be a product array. Right now, we don't have any warning. Again, a product has only one category, and we are storing its unique slug. And in the category model, we have products list, and its type is the array of products. Okay. Let's create orders. Model order. Again, ID created at, I'm gonna copy this, and it's gonna have a price, decimal. We are gonna have products, let's say JSON array. I'm not writing here this product model, that because we are gonna store something different. We are not storing directly these products. Instead, we are storing, let's see, our cart. As you can see, we have products, but it has only image, title, this option, and price, not the all product. Basically, we can use this object array, and we are going to have status, and we should write here a user, and it should be a user model, but we didn't create yet, so it can stay like that. And what else I can give? I can give Stripe intent ID, and it's going to be string and unique. When we take care of payments, you are going to understand here better, but for now, don't worry about that. It's basically Stripe ID. By the way, it can be not required. You can do it by using this question mark. For this product, for example, I can say image is not required. And that's all, I think. Let's save and come here. I'm going to open up a new terminal and I'm going to run my SQL code. Let's open up menu. And as you can see, we have only this file. But if I say npx prisma migrate dev, let's give a name. As you can see, we have a new folder here, and inside we have our SQL code. As you can see, it creates all these tables and the relationship between our tables. So we don't have to write any SQL code. Using Prisma, everything is much easier. I want to show you one more thing. If I write here npx prisma and studio, let's open up this link. And as you can see, all our models are here. And they are empty for now. Let's create a category, for example, using Prisma Studio. And after, we are going to use our API. And as you can see, by default, it's creating an ID and date. We don't have to worry about them. And let's give a title. Actually, let's open up our data. I will shrink here or close. And I will search for menu. If you remember, it was our menu data. We can use them. Let's give slug, title, description, image, and color is white. I will save, and let's create others quickly. Okay, we have 3 items, and right now using Prisma, let's try to fetch them in our API. Let's come here. If you remember, it's our categories router, And I'm gonna fetch all these categories. That's right here. And right now it's gonna be an async function, that because we are fetching our data, and I will write here try catch block. If there's an error, we can send here, let's say 500. And here we can send any message, but instead of just text, I'm gonna send an object. To do that, we can use JSON stringify. And let's say message something went wrong. And we can console log this here. And in this try block, I'm gonna say categories. It's gonna be await. And here we should use Prisma client. Let's check. After creating these models, we are migrating, and after we are gonna use this Prisma client. Let's call it here and import. And I will say Prisma. I'm gonna write here my model name. It's gonna be category. And I will say find many. And it's gonna fetch all the categories. Let's send this as a response. Let's duplicate this and move it here. Status will be 200 successful. And inside this object, I'm gonna send my categories. I'm gonna write here API categories. And as you can see, it sends all this data. So using this API endpoint, we can fetch our menu inside this menu page. By the way, let's zoom out 100%. Okay, this is how it looks. Let's open up menu. And here I will close everything and open up this menu page. And right now I'm gonna turn my component into async component because we are gonna fetch data. And remember, it says server-side component. We can fetch our data directly. So I'm gonna create here a function, get data. It's gonna be an async function. And I'll say const response await. We are gonna fetch from our endpoint API and categories. And you can write here any option, and I will say cache and no store. Because by default, it's gonna cache our data. It's actually really good, but for the development purpose, to see our items better, I'm not gonna cache anything. And I can write here a condition. I will say if response is not okay, if there's a problem, we can throw an error. And let's say failed. And finally, if everything is okay, it's gonna return this response. I will say return response.json. Let's use this function here right now. When we render our component, it's gonna directly call this function. I will say menu. It's gonna be get data, of course, await. And right now, I can delete my dummy data. We were fetching our items from this data file. We don't need this anymore. I'm gonna remove. And there's a problem here that because we don't have any menu type right now. So what I'm gonna do is creating here types folder. And let's say types.ts. And I'm gonna paste my menu type. Of course, you can use it like that. And you can create different folders here. But I'm just gonna keep everything beginner friendly. Let's use it like that. And I will import. And that's all. Let's save and see. I will refresh. And as you can see, it's exactly the same. Let's open up this studio and change this title, for example. I will save. Let's refresh. And as you can see, it has changed. It means we are using our database right now. Let's take this back and save. And this is how it works, guys. It's really easy. Just use your Prisma client and make your CRUD operations. Let's do the same thing for products, but it's going to be a little bit more complex. Let's create new API endpoint, and it's going to be products. Let's create our route. Actually, I will copy this and paste here. And let's close others and this menu. And I will say fetch all products. By the way, instead of creating new Prisma client again and again, I can create a special file for this Prisma client and I can initialize it only once. Because for the development mode, it's going to create new client again and again. So what I'm going to do is creating here a new folder, let's say utils, and I will say connect. Let's actually open up the documentation. As you can see, the problem is initialize a new client each time because of the hot reload. To prevent this, we are gonna first check if there is an instance or not. If there is, we are gonna use it. If there is not, we are gonna create a new client. Let's copy this and paste here. Export const Prisma. Right now we can use it. I'm gonna remove here and here. And let's import. Okay. Let's do the same thing here. Okay. Right now we are gonna fetch all products. Only thing I should do is write here products and search for our product model and send it here. But there is something different here. If I do that, it's going to return all our products, but we have to filter them first. What I mean by that? For the home page, as you remember, we have our featured products and we have another option. If we choose any menu here, it's going to take this category Slack and it's going to search for products belong this Slack ID. So we have two options here. Firstly, we are going to take this category name, and if there is no category name, it means we are in the home page. We are going to return those featured items. How I'm going to take this category name? If you watch my Next.js video, you already know this. I'm going to write here request. Its type will be Next.js request. And I'm going to take the search params. I will say new URL request.url. And we are going to search for any category search params. I'm going to explain this right now. Just wait. I'm going to write it first. Search params, get, and category. Basically, we are going to make a request and our endpoint is localhost 3000 API and products. I'm gonna send here any category name like that, and it's gonna be, for example, pizzas. And it's gonna take this parameter here, it's gonna take its value, and using this value, we can filter our products. Let's do that. I'm gonna delete here, Prisma products. And this time I can write here a condition and I will say where. So I can write here any condition. For example, caps lock, it's gonna be only pizzas, or price, let's say $30 or whatever. You can write here any condition. And I will say if there's a category, fetch those products. If there is no category, fetch featured products. To do that, I'm going to be using spread, and I will say if there's a category, cat slack will be category. If there is not, is featured will be true. And finally, we are going to return those products. Let's try. I'm going to open up this studio and let's add some products first. Let me make this bigger. I will say pizza 1, description, there is no image, price will be 22, it's gonna be featured, I will say true. As you can see, those are red because we have to choose a category, and I'm gonna be choosing pizza. Let's save. And one more, pizza 2, 33. It's not gonna be featured, and the category will be again pizza. Let's actually add one more, and its category will be burger. Again, it can be featured. Let's give a price, burger 1, burger 1. Okay, I will save, and let's see. I'm gonna open up the home page. Oops, I zoomed in. And in this component, I'm gonna fetch my data. Let's open up featured and fetch our data. Let's open up category. I will do exactly the same thing. I will copy here and paste. It's gonna be an async function. And I'm gonna call this data here. And if you remember, we are using this dummy data. Right now, we don't need this. I will delete. And let's define it here. I will say const featured data, featured products, and get data. And again, we don't have any type. Let's create. I'm gonna open up my type file, and I'm gonna create the product type. Remember previous video, we have done all of these. I'm not gonna explain again and again. Let's use it here, but remember it's a single product. In this case, it's gonna be product array. Let's import. Okay, let's see. Oops, I returned categories. It's gonna be products. And perfect. As you can see, featured pizza and burger. But if I open up the menu page and choose any menu here, we are gonna take this parameter and fetch our products. Let's open up menu page, but remember, it's the category of this menu. I will say params. Of course, we should write here a type. Let's define it here. Type props is going to be params, category, and it's going to be string. Let's use it here. Okay, right now we have our category name. Using this name, we can make request. Let's copy this data and paste here. It's going to be products, but this time we are going to use this category name. So let's take it here. I will say category, and I will say category, and I will paste it here. Let's turn this to a backtick. If you don't know how I'm doing this, you can watch my VS Code video. There are many useful VS Code extensions. And let's use this data here, this function. Firstly, it should be async. Let me close this menu, and I will say const products await get data, and we are gonna pass this category. We have params and its category. Okay, right now I can delete this dummy data and use these products. And again, I will give product type and array. As you can see, it's empty because we don't have any pasta. But if I choose pizza, okay, they are not here. There is something wrong. Let's open up our route and our terminal. Okay, we made the same request, but inside our route, there should be something wrong. Let's console log this cat. I will refresh. That's actually right. Category is cat. Okay, what's that? Oh, there's a mistake here. Let's try again, and as you can see, it's here. We don't have any image, we have only this title. Let's open up homepage. Okay, our featured products are here, and let's open up pizzas, and perfect. If you don't know how to use spread when writing condition, basically we are saying here, if there is a cat, spread this object. In this case, this item is going to go out from this function. And if there is no cat, it's going to take only this item. Okay. Let's remove this, and I can show you how to create, but we are gonna do this at the end of the video because in the previous video I forgot creating an add new product page. So we are gonna create from scratch in this tutorial, but it's not gonna be now. So what can we do right now? If we want to, let's create our authentication endpoint and take care of Next.js auth. I'm gonna come here, close everything. I'm gonna open up my menu and create a new API endpoint. And it's gonna be auth. And right now we are gonna be use Auth.js. Let me zoom in. If you remember my Next.js video, we should create another folder inside auth folder. And let's open up Next.js documentation. Firstly, we should install Next auth. Let's copy this. Create another terminal, and I will say yarn add next auth. And after that, we are creating this next auth folder, and it handles all our sub endpoints like sign in, sign out, session, providers, so on. So we don't have to write them one by one. We are just using this folder, and it takes care of everything. And this documentation is for Next.js pages folder, but we are using app folder. So instead of creating this file, I'm going to create this folder, and inside this folder, I'm going to create my route file. Let's create route.ts, and I'm going to create an handler here, and it's going to handle all the get and post methods. So I will say const handler is going to be next auth, and I'm going to export this handler as get method and post method. And inside next auth, we should give some options. Let's see. As you can see, firstly, we should give next auth secret. We are using this to generate token. Let's open up env file and add this here. Of course, you should give any random text here, but it can stay like that. And after that, we should wrap our application with this session provider, but it uses context API under the hood. It means we can use it in only client-side component. Of course, we are not going to turn our entire application into client-side component. Instead, I can create a special component just for this session provider, and using that component, I can wrap my application. Let's come here and create auth provider. And I will say use client, and I'm going to take children. Remember how we are doing this. I will say props. Children will be React Node. Let's use it here. By the way, if you are not confident about TypeScript, you can watch my TypeScript tutorial. It's just a 1-hour tutorial and it shows everything you need to know about TypeScript and React. So let's use these children here, and I'm gonna use this session provider. Just like this. So let's use this provider in our application. Remember, we have a layout here. By the way, let's change our title, Lama Restaurant. Okay, this is the worst description ever, but anyway. And right now, I'm gonna wrap my application. After this body, I will say auth provider and wrap all these items. Let's import, and that's all. Right now, we are ready to use it, but before, let's give our options here. You can directly give your options, but I prefer using another file. Let's come here and find utils, and I will say Auth.js. Let's open up the documentation. Let's go back. And as you can see, we can use any provider. And in our example, in our project, we are using Google provider and Facebook provider. Let's create this Google first. I will copy this and let's say export const auth options, and its type will be next auth options, and I'm gonna paste providers. Of course, it's gonna be Google provider, like that. Let's import this, and there's a problem here. It says it can be string or undefined, but it should be a string. So you can come here and say as string. You are basically saying that we are sure that it's a string, or you can do the same thing by, let's comment them out, and like that. Okay, let's call this here and import, and that's all. Let's close here. And let's try. By the way, I will save here. We will add something else, but before, let's test it. I'm going to open up the login page. And I'm going to use session hook. I will say const data status. It comes from use session. And let's see what we have. Console log data equals data and status. And when I click on this Google button, I'm gonna sign in. To do that, I will say on click, and we are gonna call sign in, and it comes from next auth, and inside I'm gonna write my provider name, which is Google. Okay, if you remember, we gave here some secret IDs, Google ID and Google secret. To use this Google provider, you should create an account on Google Cloud. Let's do that. cloud.google.com. I'm going to open up my console. And here, if you don't have any application, just create a new one. And after that, you are going to see this page. And if you open up APIs and services, you will see your information here. And I'm going to come here, credentials, and create a new credential. We are going to be using Authentication. And our application is a web application. Let's give it a name. And I'm going to write here my application URL. 3000. If you deploy your application, just change here. And redirect URL will be, let's copy this, API endpoint auth and callback Google. This is the main structure for our providers. Callback Google, callback GitHub, or whatever you use. Okay, I will save. And right now we have an ID and client secret. Let's copy this. Google ID, Google secret. Let's create them. Let's copy this. And that's all. Let's try. I'm gonna open my app. There is a problem. Use session is using context API, but our login page is a server component. Let's open up our login page, and it should be, of course, use client. Right now, I'm gonna click here, and as you can see, it opens Google Authentication page. If I click, it turns back to the application. If I open my console, let me zoom in. By the way, those errors comes from React Dev Tools. Don't worry about them. There is a warning about our image. There is a fill, but sizes are missing. Okay, we are gonna take care of them, but for now, let's focus on this authentication. At the beginning, as you can see, data is undefined and status is loading. And after that, it loads our data and it's an object. And in this object, we have our user information and status is authenticated. It works. So right now we are authenticated, but we still keep seeing this page. We shouldn't see this page. To do that, I'm gonna create here another React hook, and it's gonna be router, use router. By the way, it shouldn't be next router. Instead, it should be next navigation, because it's the newest version. And I'm gonna create a condition. We have status here. Let's remove them. And I will say if status equals loading, return, let's say a p tag, and I will say loading. And one more, and it's gonna be if it's authenticated, we shouldn't see this page anymore. Using this router, I'm gonna navigate to home page. Of course, router.push. Let's see. We are in the home page. Let's click. Perfect. It works. Right now, let's change this navbar. Instead of this login, I want to see my orders. Let's close everything and open up navbar. And if you remember, in the previous lesson, we just created here a temporary user, and it just says true or false. But right now we can use session. But in this case, I have to make this component client-side component. I don't want to do that. To prevent this, I'm going to create another component. Let's say user links. It's going to be use client. And right now I can use this condition there. Let's cut this and call our component user links. And I will paste it here. Let's actually say a div, and inside this condition, let's import this link, next link, and of course we don't have user. Instead, we are going to be using use session hook. I will say const data and status use session. Actually, we don't need this data. We can just use this status, and I will say if status equals authenticated, show the orders. Let's change them. And after orders, I will also add another item. Let's say span, and it's going to be logout button. Of course, we should create here a parent like that. And what's wrong here? Oh, if it's authenticated, we are going to see this logout button. If it's not, it means we are not logged in yet. We can see this thing. Let's create here onClick event. And we are going to be using next auth sign out function. And that's all. Let's see. Okay, there is no space between them. I will come here and say class name margin left 4. And cursor will be pointer, of course. We can click. Okay. As you can see, we have a user, but if I click here, we are not logged in anymore. Let's try again. And perfect. It's that easy, guys. By the way, You don't have to use it in only your client components. You can also use it for server components or in your API. To do that, we will be using getServerSession function. If you remember, we have created here a dedicated file. Inside this file, I can create another function, export const get auth session, and we are going to be using get server session, and inside we will pass these options like that. Right now, using this function, we can get our user and status in our server components and API. Let's save. Okay, right now we have our user, but how we are going to add this into our database? If you are using Prisma and Next authentication, it's really easy. Let's search for Prisma adapter. Okay, they are changing their websites because Next.auth is changing to Auth.js. So these kind of mistakes are normal. Let's open up Next.auth.js. It's exactly the same thing. They are just changing the name. And here, adapters and Prisma. Let's install our library. But if you don't want any trouble, I recommend you to use Next.auth Prisma adapter instead of auth, because it's not ready yet. You can run into some errors. So what I'm gonna do is, let's open up terminal. I'll say yarn add Prisma adapter, and I'm gonna change here. It's gonna be Next.auth. And after that, as you can see, we are going to use this field and we are going to pass our client. Let's open up our option file and I'm going to write here adapter. Let's import and the client. And what else? In the Prisma schema, we have to add some additional models. As you can see, we have user, session, and account. It's a standard schema. I will just copy paste here, but I'm going to explain why we are using this. Let's copy here. We already have our provider and client. We don't need to copy here. Let's open up our schema and let's paste it here. Basically, when we log in with Google, it's going to create a new user and also it's going to create an account and a session. This session includes a token and it has a lifespan. When it expires, we are not going to be logged in anymore. And we have an account here. When we create a user, it's going to create an account also. And it stores our user ID and the provider, refresh, and access token. Basically, let's log out. If I log in with Google account and log out, and after come back and sign in with Facebook, it's not gonna create any other user. It's just gonna add this account to our user. This is why it's important. Don't delete anything here, but you can add any additional information. For example, I'm going to add here is admin field, and it's going to be Boolean, and by default, it's going to be false. You can add whatever you want, but it's enough for our application. We are just going to need to check if it's admin or not. So I'm going to save here, and here, let's open up terminal. And if you remember here, we are running our Prisma Studio. I'm going to kill this process and I'm going to migrate again. I will say npx prisma migrate and dev. Another name, let's say add user. And let's run our studio. I will come back here and refresh. And right now, as you can see, we have other models. We don't have any user or account yet or session. Let's come back here. By the way, I'm gonna close everything. It can be confusing for you. I'm gonna sign in. Okay, there's a problem. Probably it's using our cached data. Let's close our application and delete this next folder and start again. Yarn dev. Let's try. I'm gonna come back. Click here. And as you can see, we are logged in. If I refresh here, you are gonna see that we have session, user, and account. And it says we used Google, our token, and the user. And this user is the user model that we have created. Let's check. Okay, name, email, image. As you can see, by default, it's false. And it works as we expected. It's that easy, guys. You don't have to worry about authentication, sessions, tokens. Just use your adapter and that's all. It's gonna create everything for you. Right now, let's take care of orders. If you remember, we have some orders here and we should fetch those orders according to our user email. But if we are the admin, we are gonna fetch all orders, independent from any email. And we will be able to update this status, or we can delete those orders. We can do whatever we want as an admin. And to do that, we are gonna be using this server session. Okay, let's close them and open up orders endpoint. Okay, we didn't create. Let's create. I will say orders. Let's copy this route. I will say orders. Let's close here and this menu. And I can delete here. And I will check the user session. I will say const session. This is how we are using server sessions. I will say get all session. There's a space here. And I will import my function. By the way, there is no bracket here. It's going to be only session. And I'm going to write here my condition. Firstly, if we are not authenticated, we shouldn't fetch any of these items. So I can come here and say, if there's a session, make here whatever you want. If it's not, else, I'm going to return an error. Let's move this here. And it's going to be 401, which means you are not authenticated. Let's write it here. And let's decide what we are gonna do. I will say, if the user is not admin, use the user email and fetch all this data. If it's admin, fetch all orders. So let's remove here and I will write my condition. I will say, if session user is admin, of course, by default, it has only email, image, and name. But also I want to add the isAdmin property inside my session. To do that, we are going to add some additional configuration. Let's open up our config file, Auth.js. And here, firstly, I'm going to say session, and I'm going to give a strategy. And it's going to be JWT. We are going to check user's token. And after that, I will write a callback function. The first one will be session, async session. As you can see, it takes those properties. I'm going to take here the token and session. And I'm going to return here a new session. We are going to add isAdmin property. I'll say if there's a token, session user isAdmin, it's going to be token.isAdmin. And if there is no token, we are going to directly return the session. And there's a problem here because, as I said, by default it includes only those items. Let's declare our new session type here. I will come here and say declare module next auth, and I'm going to change its interface, session interface, and I will say user. It's going to take the user type again. As you can see, it comes from next auth. And additionally, I'm going to write is admin, and its type will be Boolean. And again, a problem, because we should do the same thing for this token. There is no is admin yet. Let's duplicate this, and I'm going to change. Here it's going to be JWT, and here I will say JWT. And right now we don't need user, it's going to be only is admin, like that. Right now we are taking this property from token, but inside this token we don't have is admin property yet. We should add this field into token. I'm going to add another callback, and it's going to be JWT. It's going to take the token. And firstly, I'm going to search my user in my database, and I'm going to check if the user is admin or not. And I'm going to take that Boolean and put inside my token. Let's say user in DB, await Prisma.user, and I will say find unique. And I'm going to write here my condition, and I will say its email will be token.email. Oops, there's a column here, and I will say my TypeScript. I'm sure that it exists, and I'm gonna edit my token. Right now I can update this is admin, and it's gonna be user in DB is admin. Now finally I'm gonna return this token. Okay, so again, when we call our next authentication, it's going to run our Prisma adapter, but by default, it's storing our sessions using username, email, and image. But we are saying here, we also need this admin property. We are doing this because we are going to just write session get auth session, and we will be able to use this is admin. Otherwise, we have to come here, say const user, await Prisma user, and we will find unique, and we will write here where condition, and we are going to search for the email. It's going to come from our session user.email, and after finding user, we are going to take the is admin property and continue our CRUD operation. And writing this again and again is going to cost you a lot of database query. Instead, we are going to be using our session and our token, and it's going to be ready to use. And we are not going to make any additional query. Okay, I will say if there's an admin, send all orders. I will say const orders Prisma order find many, and we are gonna return these orders. And if it's not, it means we are a regular user and we are gonna find only our orders. So let's copy this. In this case, I'm gonna write here a condition where the user email will be. By the way, I didn't add our user email here. As you can see, order doesn't have any user. Let's add, I will say user, it's gonna be user. When I enter, as you can see, it gives the user ID, but as I said, I'm not gonna use it. Instead, I'm gonna use the user email. As you can see, it's unique, so there is no problem. So let's say user email is gonna be email. Let's create this. Okay, that's all. If you make any changes, you have to migrate your Prisma schema again. And let's say migrate dev. I'll say add user to order. Okay, that's all. Let's open up our studio, by the way. Okay. I can use user email right now. As you can see, there is no problem. And it's going to be our session user and its email. And again, I'm going to send these orders. Let's open up our studio and create some orders. I'm going to refresh. And let's add a record. It's going to be any price. I will add a product here. Title, pizza 1. And status will be being prepared. And I'm going to choose a user. It's going to be our user. Let's save. And let's create other user. I will say regular user. User@gmail.com. We don't need to change anything. I will save. And let's create another order using this email address. Add record. Any price here. Any product. And the user will be the second user. Okay, let's save and let's open up our orders page. Of course, we didn't fetch our data yet. Let's open up our orders page. This is our API and orders page. And if you want to, let's transform this page into a client-side component. That's because search engines cannot see this page. And also, if we are admin, we are going to add here an input and we will be able to change this status. So basically, using server-side rendering is not a good idea here. Let's say use client. And I'm going to fetch my data using React query. Because when we change this status, it's going to automatically change those orders without refreshing the page. Let's open up its documentation. Okay, let's get started. And this is our library. Let's copy this and paste here. Yarn add 10 stack React query. And after that, as we did for Prisma, we are going to create query client. And as we did for authentication provider, we are going to wrap our application with this provider. So you can use React query in all components and pages in your app. In our example, we are just going to use it here, but in any case, we are going to wrap our application because in the future we can add other components or pages and we will be able to use it in anywhere. So let's create our provider. I will save here and open up components. And I will say query provider. Again, use client. I'm going to create this query client like that. And again, I'm going to take a children from props. Let's create this quickly. It's going to be children react.react node. Okay. So let's wrap our children. Oops. Okay. Inside this, I will say children. And I'm going to import this provider. Okay, that's all. So let's use it in our layout. After this auth provider, I'm going to say query provider. And I'm going to import it. And that's all. Right now I'm able to use it in my orders page. As you can see, this is how we are fetching data, and it returns is loading, error, and our data. You don't have to worry about any state management tool. It's also caching your data. And as I said, if you edit or delete your data without refreshing page, it refetches your all list here. And let's copy this. And I will say if there is loading, return this loading text. Let's find our orders page and close them. And I'm gonna paste it here. Let's import. As you can see, we should give here any unique key, and it's gonna be orders. And I'm gonna write here my endpoint, HTTP localhost 3000 API orders, and that's all. After that, I can use this data. As you can see, we have some items here. Let's delete these two. And I'm gonna wrap this one. Data.map for each item. I'm gonna return this table row. And don't forget giving your unique key here. Item.id. Let's create our type, by the way. I'm gonna open up types and paste here my type. Let's copy this and take it here. And let's see if there is a problem or not. Okay, there is a problem. Let's see. Oh, it returns 401. It means we are not authenticated. Of course, we should verify our session here. I will say const data, but we are using exactly the same name here. So I'm going to call it as session and status from use session hook. And again, I can use router hook, const router, use router, comes from next navigation. And I'm gonna write here my condition. I will say if status unauthenticated, we are gonna be redirected to homepage. I will say router.push homepage. And here I can write one more condition. If it's loading or status is loading, it's gonna write this text. If I don't write this here, it's gonna search for data directly and it's gonna cause a problem. But if it's loading, firstly it's gonna show this text. If there is no user, it's gonna redirect us to home page. If there is user, it's gonna fetch our data. We are in the home page. Okay, let's log in. Okay, let's open up orders. Okay, there is still problem. It says data map is not a function. There must be something wrong here. Let's comment this out. And let's see what's inside our data. Oh, it's an object. By the way, let's close this dev tool. I can stop this. Anyway, it can stay. Let's open up our backend. Oh, I didn't write here await. And it's sending us a promise object. Let's write here await. And let's see right now. I'm gonna open my page. And let's take this back. Okay, there is still something wrong. Let's write here a console log. Orders. I'm gonna open up my terminal. And there is something with this user email in our order. Let's open up schema. Okay, we have user. The user email field is a string and the reference is email. Let's open up our user. Okay. String and unique. I didn't save this, or let's open terminal again. Destroy this command and migrate dev. Okay, I saved. It didn't ask me any name. It can be something wrong with our cache again. I'm gonna come here and kill my application, delete here, and run again. Oh, it works. Okay, this caching is a really big problem for Next.js because I have to delete this again and again. It tries to make your development faster, but also it causes some problems, and it's not the first time. But in the future, I'm sure we are going to have better versions. Let's delete here. And as you can see, there is only one item and it belongs to us. But if I come here and change my user, let's open up user. By the way, I didn't run studio. Let's come back. And refresh. And I'm gonna come here and make this is admin true. And right now, let's see. As you can see, there are two items. We can see all orders. Right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add here an input, and we will be able to change the status of the product. Sorry, order. Let's do that. Again, too many files. Let's close everything and open up orders page. Before that, let's add our fields here. I will say item.id. It's gonna be item.created@date, but its type is date. I'm gonna basically change this to a string. In this case, as you can see, it shows the full date, but I'm gonna take only this part, year, month, and day. So I can use slice method. It's gonna start from 0, and it's gonna take the first 10 items, like that. Item price, and it's gonna be product title, item.product, but remember, it's an array. To not waste time, let's write the first item and its title. There is a problem here. Let's open up our type. As you can see, I said object, but change its type. To explain this better, I'm gonna open up the cart component, and we are gonna add exactly the same products here. Because when we check out, I'm gonna push those items into order products, and it's gonna include this image, title, option title, and price. If you want to, let's create our cart item type, and after put it into our order products. So let's come here and create cart item type. As you can see, title, image, price, option title, and quantity. Because we are going to add here quantity inside brackets. We don't have here, but we are going to create. And let's use it here. It's going to be cart item type array. In this case, we are not going to have any problem. What else? We have status here, item.status. Okay, and for this status, actually, let's create our condition. If we are an admin, we are going to show an input instead of this text. So I will come here and say if session user.isAdmin, we are going to show an input. If it's not, we are going to show this status. And inside this input, let's make this self-closed. And I will say placeholder will be item status. And let's give a class name. I'm going to give some padding inside. It's going to be ring. Remember last tutorial? Ring color is going to be red, 100, and rounded will be empty. But of course, it's going to be inside TD. Like that. And right now I can create here a button, and when I click on that button, I can change my status. To do that, I can create a parent form. I will say form. It's going to be this input and a button, and let's say delete, or we can add here an image. Source is going to be edit.png. Alt. I will give width and height. Let's say 20. You can find this image in the public folder, by the way. Okay, it's here, but we don't have any background color and we cannot see it. So I will say class name, red 500. Of course, we need a padding, and rounded will be full. It's going to be a circle, maybe 400. Okay, let's separate those items. To do that, I can give class name for the parent. It's going to be flexbox. Items will be center, justify center, and gap between items will be 4. Okay, when I click on this button, we are going to submit our new status. To do that, I'm going to write here on click event, on submit event, because it's a form. And we are going to create a function and pass our item ID. Let's say handle update. We are going to pass here order ID. Of course, to not refresh the page, we should write event prevent default. So I'm going to pass event also. By the way, it's not order, it's going to be item. Let's create this function. I can delete here. We are going to have event and ID is going to be a string. And this is going to be, let's check its type. As you can see, form event. I can delete this handler. It's going to be event. And right now I can use it here. Event.prevent default. Okay. And after that, I'm going to take this value and make an API request. Of course, you can create here input, set input, use state, and you can change it. But I'm going to directly reach that value using event. How I'm going to do that? I will say const form will be event target, and its type is HTML form element. And I'm going to take input. And it's the first child of form, because in form we have 2 elements, input and button, and the first one is input. So if I say form elements and the first one, and it's going to be HTML input element, and I'm going to take its value. Let's say status input.value. Right now we have our new text. So let's create a put method inside our route and push this new status into our order. So I'm going to open up my menu, API orders, and here I'm going to create a new folder because we are going to need the order ID to update this. Let's say ID and new route. Let's create quickly our function. Export const is going to be put method, async. We are going to take the params. We are going to need our ID. Let's write our type here directly, params, and it's going to include our ID, which is a string. So let's destructure this ID. It's going to be params. And using this ID, I can update my order. Let's say try catch block. Firstly, I'm gonna console log, and after I'm gonna return new response. Let's say JSON stringify. It's gonna be a message. Something went wrong. And let's write a status. And it's gonna be 500. And let's update. I will say Prisma. It's gonna be order and update method. I'm gonna write my condition. Firstly, I will find my order and its ID will be this ID. And after that, I'm gonna write my data which I want to change. And we are gonna take this from request body. So let's write it here. Request is gonna be next request. And let's take the body here. It's gonna be await request.json. Okay, I can use it here. And remember, we are gonna send only this value. We are not gonna change anything else. So I can directly write here, the status of this order will be body. And that's all. If everything is okay, we are gonna return a response. It's gonna be 200 and order has been updated. Okay, let's use this endpoint. And remember, we are using use query. And when I send this new status, it's gonna automatically refresh our list here. Basically, we are gonna use this query key and we will say, when we update, refresh this list. So let's come here and say const mutation. It's gonna be React query use mutation hook. And I'm gonna write here my mutation function. And remember what we are gonna need. We are gonna need an ID and status. Let's write our types here. ID will be string. Status will be string. And we should return our fetch method. I'm gonna write my endpoint. API orders. And I'm gonna pass here my ID. And we are gonna send a JSON file. To do that, I will say headers content type. It's gonna be application JSON. And inside body, I'm gonna send my status. Let's say JSON stringify and status. By the way, there is a problem here. It says it's called conditionally because we said if it's loading, return something else. So I'm gonna move this here. Okay. And I will say if it's successful, we are gonna revalidate our list here, these orders data. It's not gonna take anything. I need to use here query client. So I will say query client, use query client. So let's use it here. Invalidate queries. Its key will be orders. If you don't know React query, it can be a little bit confusing, but watch my other projects and make some practice and you are going to understand better. So using this mutation, I can send my ID and status here. Mutation, mutate, and the ID will be ID, status will be status. Of course, I should send them inside an object, like we did here. And that's all. By the way, I forgot here my method. It's gonna be a put method. Let's check. I'm gonna come here and change this status. And as you can see, something has changed here. If I delete this input, and as you can see, test. If I refresh the page, you are gonna see that our status has changed. But it's hard to see this update. What we can do, we can add here a notification. To do that, we are gonna be using React Toastify library. Let's open up our console, and I will say yarn add React Toastify. So I can use this library in all my components. It means I'm gonna define this in my layout. Let's write somewhere here. After this footer, I will say toast container, and I can give its position. You can choose anything you want, but I wanna see it on the bottom right. Like that. Theme will be dark. And I'm gonna close this notification after 3 seconds, which means 3000 milliseconds. Okay. Of course, to give some style, I'm gonna import its default style here. So whenever I run this libraries function, this container is gonna show up here and it's gonna show our message. Let's try. I will say after this mutation, success message, and here the order status has been changed. Let's see. I will change. And perfect. And I can write here another condition. I can say if the status is delivered, I'm gonna change its color. It's gonna be white. Let's come here. Where is our row here? As you can see, its color is red. So I'm gonna write here a condition. I will say if item status equals delivered, it's gonna be white. Actually, let's write here directly it's not delivered. In this case, it's gonna be red. Otherwise, it's gonna be white. Let's fix this. Okay. And as you can see, it's white right now. If I change here, it's red again. Okay. So right now we can take care of our cart. Let's remove our items here and use a state management library. Let's open up a product. By the way, we didn't fetch a single product. Let's do that quickly. You already know how to do that. We have products, and I'm gonna do exactly the same thing here. I can copy this ID and paste here. And instead of put, I will say get. Let's say get single product. And using its ID, we are gonna fetch our product. Let's do that. We don't need any body. It's gonna be product. I'll say find unique. And its ID will be ID. I can delete here. Let's say const product. And finally, I'm gonna pass it here. JSON stringify product. Okay, let's use it. Where is our product? Here. ID and its page. Again, I can quickly fetch my item as we did here. Let's copy this and paste here. Endpoint will be products. We are going to take an ID and pass it here. Okay. Let's call this function here. Of course, it's going to be async. Const single product await get data, and I'm going to pass here my ID. Let's take it here. It's going to be params. Params is going to include an ID which is a string. Oops, params. Okay, let's use it here. Params.id. And right now I can delete this dummy data. And there's something wrong because in the design part, we used a string for this total number. Let's fix it. As you remember, we are using this component. Let's open up. I'm gonna delete this. And its type will be product type. Let's open up our types here. I'm gonna use it. Where's our page here? Let's import. And there's something wrong here. Let's check. Oh, I said number, but its ID will be string. Actually, we are going to change here, but for now, it can stay. Okay, we cannot see our product. Let's close them. And where is our product here? Oh, what I did here. Product. And as you can see, there is something wrong with this price. We are going to change it. I'm going to show you why this is happening, but for now, let's open up our page and comment this out. And as you can see, our title and description. And let's see what's wrong with this price. If you remember, we have some options and its type is title string additional price number. But in our example, I just created some random products and they don't have any options. Let's go and fix it. I'm gonna come here and I will write a condition. I will say if options and length is gonna show it. And again, inside use effect, there is the same problem. I will say if length is going to add this price, if not, it's not going to add any additional price. Okay, perfect. Actually, let's add here some image and we can see better. Which one is that? Pizza 2. And I'm going to change this description and title. And let's give some options. I will say title, small, additional price, let's say 0, and let's copy this and add here others. Medium is going to be 2 and large. Okay. Let's see. Perfect. Okay, what's this 0, by the way? Okay, there's something wrong here. Actually, what I'm gonna do is removing all those props and passing my product directly. In this page, I'm not gonna pass those one by one. I'm gonna directly pass my product and it's gonna be single product. Let's create our type. I'm gonna remove this and it's gonna be product and its type will be product type. Okay. Right now I will say product.price, product.options, again price, in this case I can directly pass my product and here again product options. Okay, but why it shows this 0 here? product price plus, let's say, 2. Okay, it's acting like a string. If I delete here, interesting. There is something wrong with our condition here. Let's actually write here if block, and I will say if product options length. I will set my state, set total, and it's going to be quantity multiplied by product price plus additional number. Oh, okay, it's working right now. I don't know what was wrong there, but this is what we want. I import this product instead of just ID, price, and options because when we add this product to cart, we are gonna need this product, its image, title, and its option. Because remember, in type, we have cart item type, and it includes title, image, price, and option title, and quantity. But how we are gonna do this? When I click on this button, I'm gonna increase this number. At the beginning, it's gonna be 0, and I'm gonna add this product into my cart, and it's gonna show it here. And it's gonna make this calculation. To do that, we are gonna need a state management tool. Of course, you can use context API, but the better idea is using a state management tool because it's not like authentication or changing dark mode, light mode. This cart store changes all the time. If your state changes often, it's better to use state management tool. And in this video, I'm gonna show you something different. It's not gonna be Redux. We are gonna be using Zustand. It's an open source tool, and it's actually a German word, and it means state. And the pronunciation of this word in German is Zustand, but I'm not going to be using German pronunciation, I'm just going to say Zustand. It's really easy to use. I think it's easier than React Toolkit. Let's actually install this library first. I'm going to open up my terminal, yarn add Zustand. And after that, we are going to create our state store. As you can see, we are going to give here our state and after our actions. Using set method, we will be able to update our state, and there is also a get method, and it's going to call our state. When we start using, you are going to understand better. As you can see, this is how we are using our state field. We will use our hook in our cart page, and we are going to fetch all these data. And in the initial state, what we are going to need? Firstly, we are going to need this total item, and we are going to show it here also. And we are going to need this total price and those items. Let's create. I'm going to open up my menu. Let's close here. And inside utils, I'm going to create new file, and it's going to be store. Let's create our initial state. We will have products, empty array, total items. It's going to be 0 and total price. So let's create our store. I will say export const, use cart store, create method, and I'm going to write here my types. Remember, in the example, we are passing here our state first and after our functions. So what I'm going to say here, I will say cart type and my actions, but we don't have yet. Let's create. I will say types, and I'm going to create my action types. Let's say action types. We are going to have two actions. First one will be add to cart action. When I click here, we are going to add our product, and the second one will be remove from cart action. when I click here, we are going to delete this product. So I'm going to send my product as a payload. And I will do the same thing here. So I will say add to cart. It's going to take a payload, let's say item, and its type will be cart item type. And it's going to be a function. Oops, I didn't say type here. Let's make this capital and one more. And it's going to be remove from cart. Again, we are going to take an item, a product, and we are going to return a function. Let's use it. And I will import. And we are going to have get and set methods. Let's write our state first. And inside those actions, we are going to update our state. Let's say products. It's going to be initial state products. Of course, it's going to be products, not product. Total items and total price. And now I can write my actions. First one will be add to cart. Let's add this item into our state. To do that, we are going to be using the set method. We are going to take the state, the current state, and we are going to return something else. And it's going to be products. We are going to get the previous products, state.products. And I'm going to increase the quantity, state total items plus item quantity. And finally, I'm going to increase the total price. And it's going to be state total price and item price. It shows warning because we didn't add remove from cart. Let's add that. And after I'm going to explain again, you are going to understand, don't worry. I will say remove from cart. And it's going to take a payload and remove this from our current state. So I will say set method. I'm going to take my state. And products will be state.products, our previous products. And I'm going to filter this. Let's say product. And the product ID shouldn't be our item ID. If they are equal, we are going to remove this product. And again, I'm going to copy here. And this time it's going to be minus. By the way, I'm going to close here and remove from here. And I set quantity, of course, it's going to be total items. Okay, there is still something wrong. I think the order of this set and get should be like this. Oh, okay. The order is important, just like Express server. You cannot put request after response. And that's pretty much all. We are going to change something here, but before, let me explain again. When using Zustand, we should pass inside our state and our actions. You can directly destructure your initial state, but it should be every single state item here. And after that, we are adding our actions. We are taking an item, and its type is a cart item type. Remember this. Basically, when I click here, I'm going to send this image title, this option title, and this number, this price, and quantity. And I'm going to take that item and push inside my products. Of course, I didn't push. This is our previous products. I just added here one more item. And additionally, I'm going to increase these total items. At the beginning, it's going to be 0, When I click, it's gonna be 1. I'm saying take the previous number and add here item quantity. If we add more than 1 item, I'm gonna increase here, it's gonna be 2 instead of 1. And exactly the same thing, we are gonna increase the total price. And here we are doing exactly the same thing. We are taking the item and filtering our products. If the IDs are equal, we are gonna remove that product. At the same time, we are gonna decrease this number and price. Let's use this. And I'm gonna show you one more thing. I'm gonna save and let's open up our cart page. And I'm gonna use my store hook. I will say const products, total items, total price, and what else we need here? We can delete those items. So let's say remove from cart, and they will come from use cart store. Okay, let's use this item. Total items is here. I will change it. And this price, let's change them. It's gonna be total price. And let's delete those items. I'm gonna use only the first one. And I'm gonna map through my products. .map. For each item, we are gonna return this div. Let's add our key. Unique key will be item.id. It's gonna be item.image, but it's optional, remember. Let's write here a condition, and I will say if item.image exists. And let's change here item.title, and it's gonna be item.option title. And finally, its price. Okay, and when I click on this button, I'm gonna remove my item. Let's use our function on click event. I will say remove from cart, and we are gonna pass here our product, which is item. And to use this cart store, our component should be a client-side component. Sorry, use client. And let's see. As you can see, there is nothing inside, 0 items, total is 0, we don't have any product. Let's do the same thing for the navbar. I'm gonna copy here and open up my navbar. But I'm not gonna turn this navbar into a client component. If you remember, we are using this cart icon component. Let's open up, and it's gonna be a client component. And I'm gonna call my hook here. And we are gonna need only total items. Let's remove them and use it here. Okay, it's that easy. So let's open up any product and give here a click event. Let's open up our price component. Remember, it's a client component. We can use it here directly. Let's call it first. I will say const use cart store, and I'm just gonna take add to cart function. Let's use it here on click, add to cart, and I'm gonna push my item. But remember, its type is cart item type, and it should be the ID, title, image, price, option title, and quantity. Actually, I'm gonna copy here and paste. Let's change those semicolons, and it's going to be comma, and I will say product.id. Let's copy this and product.title, image, price, but it's going to be the total price. Let's remove this, and option title will be product options and the selected number. But remember, it's a string, so I'm going to take only its title, and the quantity will be quantity. But of course, it can be possibly undefined. To prevent this, I can write a condition, and I will say if it exists. Remember how we are doing this. I will just say length. And let's move this into an object, and we are gonna destructure this if it exists. Okay. And finally, when I click here, I can show here a notification. So what I'm gonna do is take this function and right here, handle cart, for example. Let's create this function. Const handle cart, like that. And finally, I will say toast success message, and my message will be the product added to the cart. Let's see. I hope everything is alright. I'm gonna click here. As you can see, cart is 1 and our notification is here. Let's check inside, and perfect. It's that easy. And if I click here, it's gonna remove, and our cart is 0 again. And one more thing, if I add this product into my cart, and if I refresh the page, as you can see, it's gone, but I want to persist my cart. To do that, we are gonna be using the Persist middleware. Let's open up our store, and after this create, let's wrap our function here, and I will say persist. Let's import, and after that there is a warning because we didn't pass any option. Let's pass. I will come here and say the name will be cart. Basically, we are gonna store this into our local storage, and the name will be cart. Let's do that. I will add and refresh the page. As you can see, it's working, but there's an error, and it says there was an error while hydrating. To prevent this error, I'm gonna add here one more option, and it's gonna be skip hydration, and it will be true. It's happening because at the beginning, Next.js is trying to change the component type. By default, remember, Next.js is using server-side components, but since we use here use client, it's trying to change this component, but while that changing, that error's happening. To prevent this, we should skip this hydration. To do that, I'm gonna open my component, and I will say use effect, use cart store, persist, and rehydrate. And the dependency array will be empty. So I will do the same thing wherever I use my cart store, for example, in the cart page. And in this component, what was the name? Let's see. Okay, cart icon. Okay. Let's see right now. As you can see, there is no error. Let's add medium pizza, and I'm gonna increase this quantity. I will add, as you can see, 4 items. And there's a problem here because we are adding exactly the same item, but it shows like it's a different item. To prevent this, I'm gonna write a condition, and I will say if the item exists in the cart product, we are gonna just increase this number and the item quantity. By the way, let's add it here next to this title. This is the cart page, and after this title, I will say X and item quantity. Okay, there is one item. We added here 3 more items, and instead of adding 2 items, we are gonna make this 4 and increase this number. Let's remove this. As you can see, this is another effect. I removed only one item, but it removes all of them because it's exactly the same item. So let's open up our store, and for this function, I'm gonna write a condition. Firstly, I'm gonna find the item inside my products, and I'm gonna check if it exists or not. To do that, I will say const product. I can use the get method. It's gonna get our state, and I'm gonna take products inside this state. Let's check. I will say product in state products. Of course, it's gonna be products. And I'm gonna try to find my item. I will say find, check each product inside, and if its ID equals our item ID, it means this product exists. Instead of adding new item, we are gonna change our product. So let's write here a condition. If product in state exists, we are gonna do something. If it's not, we are gonna set our state like that. Else. So what I'm gonna do here? Firstly, I'm gonna change my product. I'm gonna increase its price and quantity, and I'm gonna add to my state. Let's update our products list. So I will say const updated products products.map. I'm gonna take each product, and if product ID equals product in state, we are gonna change that item. If it's not, we are gonna directly return that item. We are not gonna change other items. And each information of this item will stay, but I'm gonna change its quantity and price. It's gonna be item.quantity plus product.quantity. I will do the same thing for price. And that's all. Right now I can add my updated product into the state. So I will say set state. And the products will be the updated products. Total items will be state total items plus item.quantity and price. Okay, let's try. I'm gonna add this to cart. And I'm gonna add one more time. As you can see, the total item is 2, but we see here only one product. And we just increase this quantity and its price. If I delete, it's gonna delete all these items and it's 0. Let's add 3 items, 5 more, and perfect. And you can consider this option also, but I think you understood how it works. And what else? Let's get back. And I'm gonna add here a button that we can delete this item. Of course, if we are the admin. It's gonna be an user interaction, so I can separate my component. Let's close them. And I'm gonna add here a new file, and it's gonna be delete button. let's say use client. I'm just gonna return a button. Let's give class name is gonna be background red. I'm gonna give some padding. Rounded will be full. It's gonna be a circle. And I'm gonna make it position absolute, because when I add it into my single product component, this page, it's gonna show up somewhere here. So let's say top 4, right 4. Sorry, it should be like that, right and top. And let's use it in our product page. After this div, I'm just gonna say delete. And as you can see, it's here because the parent is not relative. So I'm gonna come here and it's gonna be relative. Okay, perfect. Right now, instead of this text, I can show my icon. Let's say image. Source will be delete.png. Width will be 20. Height will be 20. Okay, perfect. So firstly, I should write here a condition, because when we are not admin, we shouldn't see this button. To do that, we are going to be using use session hook, const data. Let's take this as session, and the status is going to be use session hook, and I'm going to be using rather. And let's write our condition. Remember what we are doing. If it's loading, we are going to return loading text. And one more. If it's unauthenticated, we are not going to return any button. Finally, if everything is okay, and by the way, I should say, if it's not admin, of course, session.user is admin. Okay, if it's not authenticated or if it's not admin, we are not going to return anything. And if we are the admin, we are going to see this button. And when I click on this button, we are going to delete this product. To do that, we are going to need our ID, product ID. Let's take that. I'm going to open up the product page and pass here ID. It's going to be single product dot ID. Let's take this as a prop. ID, and it's going to be a string. Okay, I will say on click event, and I will say handle delete. Let's create const handle delete, and I'm going to take this ID and make an API call. But we didn't create this endpoint. Let's open up products. ID, it's here. And as you can see, we have get single product. Let's create one more. And I will say delete single product. And it's going to be a delete method. And we are going to take the ID. And if you want to, let's validate our user. To do that, we can use server-side session. And it's going to be await get auth session. And I will say if session user is admin, we are going to make some operation here. We are going to delete our product. If it's not, we are going to return an error. Let's copy this and paste here. I will say for all three, and you are not allowed. Okay, what if we are the admin? I will say product delete method, and we are going to pass here the ID. And if it's successful, product has been deleted. And that's all. we don't need this product. And let's check is admin. We are going to delete and return this message. If there is an error, we are going to show it. And if it's not admin, we are going to return this. It looks okay. Let's try. It's going to be an async function. And I will say const response await fetch. Let's write here our endpoint http localhost 3000 API products and the product ID. And it's going to be an delete method. By the way, you can use React query, but we don't need. We are not going to refresh anything. When I click here, it's going to delete and we are going to open up, let's say, menu page. I will say method delete. So let's check this response. I will say if response status equals 200, it means it's successful. We can be redirected to other pages. Let's use rather and push and let's say menu. And I'm going to write here a notification. The product has been deleted. Or we can show the response message, but whatever, it can stay like that. If there is a problem, we are going to show the message. Let's say const data await response.json. And we are going to take that error, this one or this one, and we are going to send this message. Let's say error message, and the message will be data.message. Okay. Let's try. I don't want to remove this one. Let's try other one, this burger. I will click. Oh, it should be inside our button. Let's try. Okay, it's still not working because our endpoint is not correct. 3000 API products and ID. Let's try. And it's gone. Perfect. And it's gone. Okay. So what about this payment? We are going to be using Stripe as a payment method. I know guys, some of you don't have Stripe in your country, but it's the most popular payment gateway. If I use another method just special for your country, other people will be mad. So if you can't use Stripe, you can try to use something else. But even if your country doesn't allow using Stripe, I highly recommend you still learn it, because if you want to get an international job opportunity, you should probably learn Stripe also. So let's close them. It can stay. And I'm going to open up Stripe documentation. Okay, this is the Stripe dashboard. After the login process, you are going to see this page. And here, you are going to have your publishable key and secret key. Let's copy them and open up our env file. And I will say Stripe public key and Stripe secret key. Let's see this key. I will copy and paste here. I will save. And right now we can install our libraries. But before, let's open up the documentation and see what we are going to need. We are going to accept online payments. You can use this pre-built checkout page, but everything will be in our application, so I'm going to choose custom payment flow. So let's come here and choose Next.js. So right now we are ready to install our libraries. Let's copy them. Stripe and Stripe.js. Yarn add Stripe This is for our backend server. And to see this page, this payment methods, we are gonna need React Stripe.js also. I'm gonna copy here. So I will say yarn add React Stripe. Okay, I can close here. And let me explain you what we are gonna do. Let's come here and create our pages related to Stripe payment. Basically, we are gonna have 3 pages. The first one is our cart page. Basically, this page. And when I click on this button, it's gonna open up the payment page. And we are gonna see our user information here and the payment methods. And when I click on this button, finally we are gonna complete our payment and we will be redirected to a success page. Let's create one more. It's gonna be success. So let's write our API here. And the Stripe gateway. And this is our API. So let's see what we are gonna do. When I click on checkout button, I'm gonna make an API request. And basically we are gonna create a new order. So our endpoint will be orders. And we are going to create a new order. And it's going to include our user email and its status will be not paid. It's not completed yet. And after this request, it's going to return us our order ID. And we are going to take that ID and pass it to payment page. Let's say order ID. And as soon as this payment page shows up, we are gonna make another request. And we are gonna create a Stripe intent. I'm gonna pass here my order ID. And in our API, we are gonna be connected to Stripe. And we are gonna create a new intent and it's gonna return us a client secret. Using that client secret, Stripe is gonna listen the user interaction and according to cart information we write here, it's gonna return an error or success message. Let's write here payment process. And using this API, we are gonna be redirected to success or failure URL. It can be also failure. Let's move this here. Fail page. If something goes wrong, we are gonna see this page. In our case, it's gonna be just our home page and we can show here some notification maybe. And if it's successful, we are gonna be redirected to success page. And this URL is gonna include our intent ID. It will be something like success ID and it's gonna be intent ID. And using this ID, we are gonna make the last API request. If you remember, we have created here a new order, but the status of that order was not paid. And in this case, using this intent ID, we are gonna find our order and we are gonna confirm our order. So let's say confirm endpoint, and if everything is okay, it's gonna return us a successful response and we will be redirected to the orders page. Okay, when we start coding, you are gonna understand better. This is the main structure of our payment process. So let's create those pages. We already have cart. I'm just gonna create payment page and the success page. And for this failure, I'm just gonna use my home page. And we already have orders. Okay. Let's open up our menu. And I'm gonna close everything here. And let's create 2 more pages. Inside app directory, I will say pay, page, payment page, and I will say use client, because we are gonna need the user interaction here. And let's copy here and create another page. And it's gonna be success. Okay, what about our endpoints? We are gonna have 2 main endpoints for the checkout: create intent and confirm. Let's come here. Inside API, I will say checkout, and the first endpoint will be create intent route.ts, and one more. I will just copy this and paste here, and it's gonna be confirm. Okay, let's come here, and I'm gonna close this preview. And as you can see, this is create intent endpoint. Firstly, we are gonna initialize Stripe, but before, let's handle our checkout button. When I click here, I'm gonna create a new order. Let's open up cart page. And I'm gonna write here on click event. Handle checkout. Let's create const handle checkout. It's gonna be an async function. We are gonna create a new order. But firstly, I'm gonna check if the user is logged in or not. To do that, remember what we are doing. We are using use session hook. And I will say, if there is no session, use router and redirect user to home page. I'll say const router, use router hook, but it's gonna be next navigation, and router push and home page. Okay, if there is a user, finally we can use try catch block. Just console log this error, and what I'm gonna do here, I will say const response await. I'm gonna make a request using fetch method, localhost 3000 API and orders, and it's gonna be a post method. And remember how we are sending data. I will say headers, content type, application JSON, and finally I can pass my data using body JSON stringify. And let's write our object. Let's remember what we have inside. We are gonna have price, products, and the status will be not paid. We are not gonna have any intent now, but we are gonna pass our user email. So price will be total price. Remember, it comes from the cart store. We are gonna pass our products, again from cart store. Status will be not paid, and the user email will be session user.email. And finally, it's gonna return us the order ID. Let's say const data await response JSON. I can use my router and push the payment page. I will say pay, and we are gonna pass here our order ID. Okay. Let's check our endpoint. Where is our API here? Orders. And as you can see, there's a post method here, but it's empty. Let's say create order. Again, we can do exactly the same thing. we can check our session first, like that. If there is no session, by the way, let's make this async. If there is no session, we are going to send this error. And if there is a session, we can take the body request and JSON. Of course, we don't have request. Let's get this here. Next request. And using this body, I can create a new order. So I'm going to come here and say create. And inside, I'm going to pass my data. And it's going to be this body. And it's going to return us the new order. Finally, I can pass its ID. Let's check here. Okay, we are using data ID, so I can directly send this order. I don't have to say ID. And it's going to be successfully created. Okay, let's remove this. Let's try. I'm going to click here. And there is an error that because we just created pay page, but we didn't add here the order ID. So let's come here. And inside pay page, of course, it's going to be an ID. We can say ID or order ID. And I'm going to move this page here. Okay. Let's open up. And we are going to take this ID. Let's say params. It's going to be params ID and string. Let's take this ID here. It comes from params. And right now, using this ID, we can create a new intent. To do that, I'm going to be using useEffect hook, because as soon as we open this page, it's going to make the request and it's going to connect to Stripe, and we will be able to make our payment. So I will say useEffect dependency array, and it's going to be ID, of course. And let's say make request async function. I'm creating a new function because we cannot make useEffect async. It's going to give an error. So I can create here my own function and call it here. Okay. Let's try catch. If there is an error, we are going to write it here. And I will say const response await. We are going to be using fetch method and my endpoint. API create intent. And I'm going to pass here my ID, the order ID. So using this ID, we are going to find our order. And we are going to update this intent ID. And it's going to be a post method. And it's going to return us a client secret. Let's say const data await response.json. And inside this data, we are going to have the client secret. Let's check actually. By the way, we are using useEffect. Okay, it should be space, of course. Did I do the same thing here? Okay, it's going to be space. And let's see. Let's initialize our Stripe first. This is the order. I can close here and open up create intent route. Let's paste it here and let's create our post method. Async, and we are going to get the order ID. Params ID will be string. Let's take this ID quickly. And using this ID, firstly, I'm going to find my order because I'm going to need the price. I will say const order. It's going to be await Prisma order. I will say find unique. And I'm going to say where ID will be ID. And I will say if there's an order, create a new intent using Stripe, else we are gonna return an error. Return new response, JSON stringify, and I'm gonna send my message here, order not found. And after that, a status 404, not found. Okay. Right now, let's see how we can create a payment intent. As you can see, Stripe payment intents and create method. And here we are going to pass the price. We can give any currency and payment methods. It basically shows other payment methods. It can be the card information or bank code or whatever it might be depending on your country. Let's copy this. And as you can see, finally we are sending this client secret. Let's firstly create our intent here. We can calculate amounts, but for now, let's say $100. Of course, to do that, you can multiply this by 100 because by default, this price is a cent. If you multiply by 100, it's going to be $100. Let's say USD. And after that, we can take this payment intent and return a client secret. Let's duplicate this and move it here. It's going to be 200. And inside this object, I'm going to send client secret. It's going to be payment intent client secret. By the way, there will be a bracket here. And that's all. Of course, we didn't update our order. Let's update. Await order, update. Where ID will be ID. And as data, we are going to update our intent ID. Let's open up our schema. We are going to update this. And it's going to be payment intent dot ID. I didn't say Prisma. Okay. Right now we have our client secret. Using this client secret, we are going to create our checkout form. Okay, this is our payment page. If you remember, we made our request. And here, as you can see, they created a use state. Let's actually do the same thing. I'm going to open up my payment page and I will say use state hook. I will directly use it like that. And we have our data here and I'm going to say set client secret. It's going to be data.clientSecret. Finally, we can create our payment form. Let's see. We are going to have some options here. And using Stripe elements, we are going to pass our options here and we will create a checkout form. But before, we are going to need this Stripe promise. Let's check. As you can see, we are using our public key. Let's write it here. It's going to be next public Stripe publishable key. Let's change this actually. env file and I will change here. Okay. And I'm going to say it exists. And let's create our element. I will say if there is client secret, create a Stripe element. Let's import this. And we are going to create our options, const options. Its type will be Stripe elements options. And it's going to include our client script. And we can change our theme here. You can choose dark mode, light mode, and this default one. I'm going to use it. And let's pass it here. Okay, it's already here. And let's create our checkout form. I'm going to create a new component here. Again, I will say use client, and I'm gonna use it here. Okay, let's see what we are gonna need. I'm gonna scroll down, and this is our checkout form. So what we have here, we have some states. We are gonna listen the user interaction and set our states. But before this use effect, let's come here. As you can see, this is our checkout form. It includes our card information and other payment methods. And when we click on the pay button, the Stripe is gonna listen our payment process. And if everything is okay, it's gonna create this message. If it's still processing, it will say loading or processing, whatever you want. And if there is something wrong, it's gonna set our message with an error. And here, if everything is okay, if there is no problem, we are gonna be redirected to this URL. And in our case, it's gonna be the success page. Okay, let's copy here. It's basically the standard code. I don't wanna touch anything here. Let's paste, use effect, use stripe hook, elements hook, and use state. Okay. There are some warnings here. I will say if it exists, and they can be null also, so I can come here and give my generics. It can be a string or null. And we are gonna have handle submit, but before, let's create our form. I'm gonna copy this and paste here. Let's import. I can actually directly write it here. And let's remove this. And here there's a problem. Actually, we don't need this email. We are not going to send it anywhere. We already have email in our order. If there is an error, it's going to be our error message. Or if there is no message, I'll say something went wrong. And here there's a problem. Let's check. As you can see, it's a form event. And the generic is HTML form element. Let's write React form event and HTML form element. Okay, let's see. By the way, if everything is okay, we are going to be redirected to success page. And this URL is going to include our intent ID. And using that ID, we are going to update our order. And it sends 404. Because we are directly calling this route inside create intent, I should give here my order ID, like that. Let's change this ID, it's gonna be order ID. And let's try. Okay, it's here. Let's test. I'm gonna give the test numbers. You can give any number actually here. And I will say pay now. And as you can see, we are in the success page. And we have payment intent here. Using this ID, finally I can confirm my order. Let's open up confirm. And again, I can create here my ID. And it's gonna be intent ID. And I'm gonna move this here. Export const is gonna be put method because we are gonna update our order. Async. Let's take our intent ID. I will do this quickly. And try catch. Console log this error. Let's update. I will say await Prisma order updates, and we are going to take this intent ID and find our order. Let's say where the intent ID will be this intent ID. And finally, we are going to send our data, and it's going to be status, let's say being prepared. And let's send a message. Order has been updated. And if there is an error, it's going to be something went wrong. 500. Okay, let's use it in our success page. If you remember, our payment intent is here, but how we are going to reach this value? It's really easy. I will say const search params. We are going to be using use search params hook. Basically, it's the URL after this question mark. If I say get payment intent, it's going to return me this number. So I will say const payment intent search params get and payment intent. Let's use router. And I'm going to be using use effect. As soon as we run this page, we are going to run this use effect. And if this payment intent changes, we are going to make our final API request. I will say const make request async try catch. And I will say await fetch method http localhost API confirm. And I'm going to pass here my intent ID. And remember, it's a put method. And let's call it here. And if it's successful, we are going to be redirected to the orders page. Push orders. In this case, we are going to need this router here. And let's write here a message. I will say it's successful. Please do not close the page. And as you can see, we are here. And they are not paid. Let's actually delete everything here. I'm going to refresh. And let's create a new one. Okay, it's here, but we don't have our address information. To do that, let's create another component. And it's going to be address form. It's going to be a form. And let's give a title. It's going to be address. And we are going to be using stripe address element. And I'm going to give my options. Mode will be shipping. And we are going to have a custom onChange event. I will just copy paste from documentation. You can check for details in Stripe documentation, but it's pretty much all. Let's use it in our checkout form. Before this button, I will say address form. And as you can see, it's here. Let's try one more time. Lama Dev test. The card number. Let's choose country. If I don't give any address, it's going to give me this error. Let's say test. Okay, there are some options. Let's choose one of them. And again, if I click here, and this is our order. Okay, for the payment page, I didn't give any class name and style. This video is already too long and it's not the design part, but you can find it in the GitHub repository. Don't worry, I will give some style. But for this video, let's focus on functionality. And what else we have? we can see items or delete items, but we cannot add new one. Let's do that in the menu page, or actually we can use it here. If we are the admin, instead of this cart component, we can show a button that says add new product. And when I click that button, I can open up add product page, and it can validate the user. If it's the admin, it can show a form that we can add new product. Let's do that. I'm gonna close them. So I'm gonna create a new page. I will say add page.tsx. I will say add page. It's gonna be a client-side component. And let's create our form inside this div. Let's add here a title, add new product. Let's create our div, and it's going to include a label. Let's say title and input, and the name will be title. Let's create others. Description, but it's not going to be input, it's going to be a text area. It will be a little bit bigger. Let's say description, price. It will be a number. And category. And finally, we will be able to add some options. Let's say options. And I'm going to create a div. And inside this div, we are going to have two inputs. The first one will be title, option title. Let's say name, title. And one more, and it's going to be additional price. I will say number, price, and additional price. Let's actually add here additional. And after this input, I'm going to create a button that we can submit this option. So I will say add option. And after that, I can show these options. If we add a new option, we are going to show it here. Let's create an option. It's going to include two span. First one will be the title. Let's say small, for example. And the other one will be, let's say, $2. Okay, let's use our session. And if we are not the admin, I'm going to be using use router hook and navigate user to the home page. I will say const use session. Data will be session and status. I'm going to create my router. I'm pasting here because you already know how to use it. And I'm going to create some inputs here. The first one will be our product inputs. I'll say const inputs, set inputs. I will say use state. By the way, I'm going to keep this page really basic. I'm not going to give any style. But as I said in the repository, you can find the better version of this add page. So let's write here empty inputs. Price is going to be 0. Category Slack. And after that, I'm going to create option state, set option. And it's going to have a title, option title, and additional price. Let's open. I'll say add. Okay, it's here. Maybe I can give some small styling so we can see better. Firstly, for this form, I'm going to give some shadow. I'll say flex, flex wrap. Gap between each item will be 4 and P will be 8. And for each div, each item, I will say with full flags column, gap will be 2. And what about inputs? I'm gonna give a ring. Ring color will be red, 200, P2, and rounded will be small. Okay, I can do the same thing for description. I can copy here and paste for this text area. Okay. It doesn't look good, but it can stay like that. Let's take care of this button. Let's give a width, background color, and text color. And I can give a padding. And finally, for this option, again, I'm gonna give a ring. Let's give padding and ring color and rounded. And finally, our submit button. Type will be submit. And let's give class name padding 2, width full, background color red, and text color will be white. Of course, I'm gonna change it, but for now, for the visibility, I think it's okay. So let's update our state. When I change these inputs, I'm gonna update my state. To do that, I'm gonna be using handle change method. Let's use it for our inputs. Not for them, it's an option. I will say on change, handle change. Okay. Since we are using name for each input, we can update our state easily. I'm gonna write here my type. It will be change event, and the element can be input or text area. So I will say set inputs. I'm gonna take the previous value and return previous event target name, and it's gonna equal event target value. If you don't know why I am setting my state like that, you can watch my use state video. After watching that video, you will understand everything here. Of course, you can create different use states for each item and change them one by one, but also you can change them in one function like that. So I can do the same thing for option. Let's say change option. When I enter any title and price, I'm gonna update my state. It's gonna be set option, and it will be just input element. Let's use it. Here. On change option. Right now I can show my options here. So what I'm gonna do is adding new use state, and when I click on this button, I'm gonna add this option into options array. Let's create. I will say const options, set options, use state. It's gonna be an empty array. Let's create our option type. It's gonna be a title, string, and additional price. Let's use it here. And here. It's gonna be option array. By the way, I can do the same thing for inputs. Like that. Oops, I said 0. It's going to be empty string. And right now I can update my options. So I will come here and say on click event, set options. I will take the previous and return a new array. And I'm going to add the option here. Right now I can use it here. I'm going to map through my options and show every single option here. Options map item and return this div. Of course, we need a unique key. We can use its title, item.title. And it's going to be item.title, item.additional price. By the way, let's change this button. I will just make this div. I don't want to see any conflict because we are using form. Let's try. I will say test. I'm going to add, and as you can see, it's here. If I add one more, perfect. And when I click one of them, I'm going to delete that option. Basically, I'm going to filter my options. Let's find out our single option. It's here. And when I click on this, set options and options.filter, I'm going to check its title. If it equals our option title, actually we are using same name. Let's change it. I will say option like that. If it doesn't equal our item title, we are going to take those items just like that. Okay, perfect. And right now we can take all these fields and send them to our API using this button. So I will come here and say on click, handle submit. Actually, we can use it directly on our form. Let's come here and I will say on submit. Okay, let's create const handle submit event. Its type will be React form event. I will say prevent default. I don't want to refresh the page. And after that, we can use try catch and send our data to our API. It's going to be async const response await fetch method localhost API products method, and I'm gonna send here body. Let's say JSON stringify. And what I'm gonna pass here? Firstly, I'm gonna pass everything inside inputs. And also I'm gonna add my options. Options will be options. And if everything is okay, we can take that product ID and use a router. I will say const data await response.json. Let's create use router. Oh, we already have because we are using session. And I will say router push product and its ID. It's product or products. Okay, product and ID. Let's create our endpoint. API products. I'm going to open up this route file. And we are fetching data, but the post method is empty. Let's copy this and paste here. I will take the body here, const body, await request and JSON. Of course, we don't have. Let's create and make this async. Next request. And I will say Prisma product create. I can delete here and I can pass my data. And it's going to be body. And finally, I'm gonna return this product 201. Okay. Let's comment this out for now to make sure everything is okay or not. Actually, let's open up our API and see if there's an error. Okay, it's here. Let's create, I will say, test pizzas. I will add this option and submit. And let's check. Okay, there's something wrong. Okay, we didn't add category slug. Oh, its name is still title. I didn't change here. It's gonna be category slug. And what about others? Additional price, title, price, description, and title. Let's try. And there is no warning. Let's open up our studio and products. And it's here. And our option here, test option and price, but there is no description because I didn't add here on change event. Let's delete this and try one more time. Let's refresh actually. I will refresh and it's here. Perfect. So it works as we expected. Let's see how we can add an image. I'm gonna come here and I will create one more div. And it's gonna be image. Input title will be file. And I'm gonna create one more new state here, and it's gonna be file. File, set file, use state. And when I change this on change, I will say set file, event, target, and files. Let's give this type. Okay, there is no problem anymore. And right now, when I click on this button, firstly, I'm gonna upload my image and then take the image URL and add it to my body here. To do that, we can use Cloudinary. Let's open up cloudinary.com. And after the login process, you are gonna see your dashboard. I'm gonna open media library and let's create a new folder. And I'm gonna say my app name. And I'm gonna open up my settings. I'm gonna choose upload. I'm gonna add a new preset. Give the name. I'm gonna choose exactly the same folder. And the sign-in mode will be unsigned. Right now, I can use this folder to upload my images. To do that, I'm gonna open up Upload API and copy this link. And let's create here a new function. I will say const upload. It will be async. And I will say const response await fetch method. and I'm gonna paste this URL, and the cloud name will be your username. In this case, it's gonna be Lama Dev. You will write here your own cloud name, and it's gonna be image. And it's gonna be a post method, post, and body will be our file. To do that, I'm gonna create here a new form data. Const data is gonna be new form data. Data.append. The file name will be file, and I'm gonna add here our file. By the way, there is an error here. That's because we said it's gonna be a file list, but actually we are gonna upload only single file. It's not gonna be multiple. I'm gonna come here and say handle change image. I will create this function here. Event, and the event name will be change event, and I will say const target is going to be event target, and I will say as HTML input element. By the way, it's going to be event, not handler. And I'm going to take the first file, first item. I will say target.files as file list and its first element, like that. Finally, I can update my state. I will say set file, it's gonna be item. In this case, its type will be just file. And I'm gonna add file, and also I'm gonna add my upload preset, append upload preset is gonna be my folder name. And finally, I can pass this data here. And finally, it's gonna return us a URL, the image URL, and we can return it. I'll say const data await response.json. Oops, we are using exactly the same name. Let's say response data, and I will return response data dot URL. So using this function, we can upload our file. Let's write it here. Const URL is gonna be upload function. And after that, I'm gonna add here my image. Okay. And I'm gonna write here header. And the content type will be form data. And I forgot await here. Let's try. I will choose this image, title, description, price, category, option, and submit. Let's check. I will refresh, and it's here. Let's see. Menu, burgers, and of course, Next.js doesn't allow us to see this image. To prevent this error, I should add this URL into my Next.js options. Okay, let's add. I will come here, next config, and inside I will say images, domains, and I'm gonna add here, what was that? Let's check, rescloudinary.com. Oops, I said array, it's gonna be an object. Okay, let's see. and it's here. Okay. So we finished our project. Of course, I didn't add some realistic products, but I hope you understood everything. Of course, you can add some more features. If you have any questions, just use the Lama Dev social media accounts. I hope you liked it. If you learned something new today, please like the video. You can support Lama Dev by joining the channel or using the link in the description below. Don't forget to follow Lama Dev's social media accounts. I hope I will see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.